Hey guys, it's Runchuks from Love the Spot. This week our guest is Steffen Sontheimer. It was one of the most interesting conversations we've had on a podcast. His story of how he went from low-stakes grinder to become one of the most prominent players in the super high roller community is incredible. We talk about his journey, about how the group of people that he worked with achieved great success in poker business. And by the way, that group includes people like Fedor Holz, Ben CB, Dominic Nietzsche, Rainer Kempe, and many other huge names. We discussed Steffen's approach to studies, his work ethic, and there were also some funny stories from our encounters with celebrities like Gerard, Piqué, Kevin Hart, Usain Bolt, Russell Westbrook, just to name a few. As always, there are the timestamps in the description, so feel free to jump around the topics. And I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. There's a lot each and every one of us can learn from Steffen's story, and I really appreciate that he was so open in this discussion. Enjoy. Alright, and we're live. So, hi everyone, we've got Steffen as a guest today. Super excited about that. And Tobi's joining us, and I'll let Tobi do the introduction. So go ahead, Tobi.
So hello, first of all, and thank you for watching. And today's guest is a Zoom grinder, a high-stakes legend. Negriano called him the best no-limit hold'em player in the world. And he's also a streamer. He crushed the high-stakes poker world. He won the purple jacket, and he is also a good football player. Let's welcome all Steffen Sontheimer.
Cheers, thank you. And the good football players, I'm not sure about that, but I'll try my best.
I mean, we won the World Championship in Vegas together.
That's true. Almost 2 times in a row, but...
So would you say that is your biggest achievement?
Yeah, I think, I'm not sure whether it is still in my Twitter handle, but it says like European champion, world champion, and this is obviously referring to our cup. So unfortunately, there was never a cup for me. Who has the cup? It was in your flat in London.
Oh yeah, I think we still have it. But I also think that Rainer Kempe got the beast of the tournament award.
Yeah, which is like standing for 0 goals and 0 assists in one tournament, pretty much.
Yeah, but defense is also important.
That's true. That's true.
All right. And guys, by the way, I want to give some background information here. Why is Tobi doing the intro? Because Tobi is sitting right next to Steffen right now.
He's hiding a little there.
That's the thing. It's going to be the funniest ever podcast that we have because, you know, we're getting closer to a point where we have like live interact, like a real in-person, person-to-person interaction with our guests. So, you know, Tobi is still off camera, but he's very, very close.
It's like he's the Isildur one of the podcast, right? One day he might show his face, but he's just so shy.
Yeah.
I might or I might not. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. The man, the mystery. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and let's talk. There's so many things to talk actually about because like I don't even know where to start, you know? So many interesting topics. Like I think the whole experience that you have in the high roller scene, so fascinating. So many people are probably really curious to find out like how it is to travel the world, to play these crazy games, to meet all the biggest names in the world of poker, right? Because you've pretty much know them all. You know, you're buddies with Phil Hellmuth, who is just you know, the face of poker.
We had a nice phone call on stream, the two of us.
Oh yeah,
yeah, one of my best buddies in the poker world.
All right, so yeah, I think that aspect is just so fascinating to a lot of people. The aspect that is also super fascinating is the fact that you are very successful in tournaments. You're very successful in cash game. Right, which is quite a combination. You know, you manage to sort of cover a lot of fields in the game of poker. So that's super interesting. Definitely want to talk about that. We're going to talk about your Supernova Elite years, because that's something I did myself as well. 1 year. I think you did 2 years, right?
I did 2, yeah, that's true.
2 years. So two times more than I did, but there's definitely something interesting to talk about there, because
I cheated the second year, like VPP wise, and added some sit and goes. That does not really count as an achievement, you know. So let's make
yeah.
it one real year of cash Supernova Elite.
All right. Well, then we're 1 for 1. That's
Yeah.
fine. We can talk about the real year. Although, I sort of cheated because I did it in PLO. You did it in
Oh, that's
Hold'em.
true. That's a
So
lot of cheating in there.
that's much easier
It's like
to.
paying so much rake at the same time, you know. It's insane. It's not okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I want to talk about that later, because with the idea in mind that, at least to me, this was one of my most important years because it formed my approach on how to handle the whole thing more professionally. Developing your work ethics, developing your routines, developing the way you handle the swings, all these things. So I want to touch upon that later, and probably some stories from Phil Hellmuth. That's gonna be fun. So let's go. Let's start maybe with what are you up to right now, actually, right? Because are you still traveling as much as you used to? Are you traveling less? Like, what are you up to nowadays?
Well, actually, like the first story that comes to mind is, well, the answer first of all is no. The first story that comes up to mind is someone was asking for me, and I was like sure that they all know about it. It was in Australia, and someone I still had like financial stuff to do with. I was like, yeah, just check out these guys and talk to them, and I think it was Adrian Mateos then telling this guy, hey, Steffen disappeared. I have no clue. Which is like, I guess lots of people kind of following the live tournaments, they kind of got the feeling that I disappeared, which is somewhat true. I would just more say it was like priorities shifted a little, and I was just not over it, but it's like I just realized that overall this is not my world. I definitely am or was in the state that I just could play all of those. And like many of the American crew and those guys do, but it's not. I realized that it's not really what I enjoy, and so I decided to go another way, like a little back, and I changed back to playing cash. I moved back to Germany. I'm sitting here in this nice flat right now, and I'm grinding like daytime. So you haven't seen me during like night too often. I'm grinding in the mornings, in the afternoons. It's not the best time for poker, but it's the best time for like doing what I still like doing while having the life or while living the life the way I want to live it. So that's pretty much what changed. Yeah.
Right. So why did you come to a decision that let's stop the travels? I mean, first of all, because you said you realized it's not really your scene. So what are the aspects that you sort of got fed up with?
Well, I like to make everything look easy, kind of. And it's like a mixture of things. Like people that know me well know that I prefer to be at like what I call my real home with my friends there, where I'm still sometimes playing like the local soccer club. I have my all friends and family there. I like being there. Then it's always involved like that. I have my girlfriend, so girls change lives a little. Um, and she's living like 1 hour away from my hometown, and it was just like, and plus the traveling, plus the staying and grinding in Vienna was just too much back and forth for me. So this is just draining, just like takes the energy out of it, that it was not easy in the end, and I needed to change something. And I had several options, right, to just like go full-time travel and somehow make it happen, and like not be at home that often, or just like find another way. And then I was like, yeah, what does it give me on the one hand, and what do I need to like let go on the other? And I clearly found out that like, okay, financially, probably it makes the most sense to keep grinding those high rollers. But it's not really the world where I feel like I'm not I don't know. I remember always like small stories right now. I remember that one talk with Nick Petrangelo. We were drunk after a hockey game, after having a gazillion beers. And like one of those men's talks where you're sitting on a bar just having the 21st beer. And he was like, Steffen, I really want to do that for the rest of my life. I enjoy it so much. Just like traveling and be free and play a card game. And I'm like, well, I feel more like I would like to do something normal, more or less. I like the freedom for sure. And the traveling, don't get me wrong, the traveling was all great, but it's not what I want to do day in, day out. And yeah, so this was not really for me. So I just started changing things a little.
Right.
Do you think like you only need a year or so off, or do you think that's a decision forever?
Like for taking a break and not playing those tournaments, I'm 100% sure that there will be the point where I feel like reading the news. I'm obviously following the stuff, lots of friends involved, where I'm like, that would be great to be there right now. But like taking on that life perspective, I think this is a thing that is just which you realize over time, just like the way you are. And I'm like, I've always been that way. It's not being said that I won't ever change, but that's just, yeah, I've been like that the last 29 years. And so I just have to expect that I just feel that strong, I don't know how to call it, like that hometown pulling me back every now and then.
Yeah, I think it's super fascinating because for a lot of players, it's just the main goal. It's like to make it to the top, to play that high stakes, to play the super high rollers. And then, you're just like, nah, I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah, I talked about the part like with the other priorities in life and that it's just like that it's draining. It costs you so much energy and you cannot do it the way I did it for like super long. That's at least I couldn't do it. So you need to take other parts away. And then it's a question of priorities. What is how important for you? There's obviously the money making side of it, which is, well, you need money to live, and well, more money for most people is better. So it's like, but for me, it's like I'm not that guy who needs to live in like the biggest baller houses to drive the biggest baller cars, and like this is not what is the most important for me. Saying that is obviously easy when you're kind of have like kind of a some money that you're sitting on. That's like makes it easier, obviously, that priorities, even with that reason, just like shift over time. When you've had some success, when you made some money, that it's right now it's not that important for me.
Yeah, I just wanted to say because this apartment here is also super nice. It's not like you're poor, and even a Zoom 500 grinder is also somebody who's rich, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like it's a super good income, but for me it's more about the whole decision going back to Germany. Like in Vienna, poker is tax free. Here I will pay for the year that I'm grinding right now 40, 45, I don't even know, plus, where it's like it's a clear decision. Like, okay, this is not so important for you and you're giving up on something that you would have if you changed your lifestyle or you keep the lifestyle you had, but you're giving up on something else. And that's like one of the things I always told me, even in the beginning of my career. I never want to have that. Like on the one side, there's the real life, and on the other side is the poker life. Like, I mean, it was at the beginning like a video game, and I never wanted the video game to be the number one. Like, it was always when my friends meet up somewhere, and even when I have two big whales on the table, but in reality, I have time. It's always real life first. And this was like the same decision, just like way bigger. Yeah.
Interesting. And it also shows like, I think that story about your conversation with the Nick while you both drunk on beers, it's such a great story because it goes to show that for some people, they're in a stage of their life when there's nothing better. Right. And I mean, if we think about Nick, I mean, this guy's crazy. He's traveling like 300 days a year or something like that. Right. So, and he enjoys it. It's his thing. Right. But there's not many people out there who love it. Like myself, I I used to travel. I mean, only cash games, right? I don't play tournaments, but I would be traveling like some of the years it was 6 months a year. And at some point you realize, okay, it's enough. It's super nice, but as you said, at some point you want to have a normal life, a normal, stable routine that, you wake up in your own home and you have your normal life and you start playing perhaps in the morning, which is not the best time. But fuck it, because by 5 p.m. you're done, you have your dinner, you have your life, you meet your friends, and the whole thing is more enjoyable.
Absolutely. I would encourage everyone to find out for himself. Like I have one other example in mind right now who had another approach, like leading to the same thing. Steven Chidwick, for example. He, we know his great wife, Marine. They got their child now. He probably took priority number one is poker. This is what he wanted to do, travel and live that lifestyle for the rest of his life. And he found a way to like have his whole family life with his wife and his child right now, just like making it happen, which works out in that. I mean, like when money for him is not the biggest issue, I guess. So, and it's about living the life you want to live and not like in the early 20s or like you not drop out of school, but you finish school with 18 and like the only thing you have in mind is kind of when being in that poker world is maximizing money, playing the highest stakes. And that's like the shift that I realized.
I see a funny comment in the chat. Tiny Nigel is saying that poker players want to have 9-to-5 routine and people who work 9-to-5 want to have poker freedom. Isn't it sick?
It's like, I mean, I don't want to have 9-to-5. I want to have the freedom to do whatever. But I prefer to not, like for me, especially tournament players, they are kind of stuck in a 9-to-5 that is worse than 9-to-5 because they have to play during the nights. But this is the worst for me. Start at 6 p.m. and grind into the morning. This is way worse. I want to wake up. Like my biggest freedom that I have is never setting an alarm clock. Like this is incredible. Like I have that talk with my girlfriend every now and then, and she's like, "Yeah, but I have to get up this early." And I'm like, "Yeah, but you go to bed earlier." And in the end, we kind of work the same hours. Or if she's not listening right now, I'm probably working more. I'm sure of that.
We'll make sure that she hears that.
First of all, I enjoy working most of the time. And the other thing is I don't have to. There's not that pressure, right? This morning I got up. First move, I get up at some point. I look at the clock. It's like, I don't know, it was 10 something, which is totally reasonable because I played until 2:30 last night because I just felt like it. And there's no pressure. I have no like boss who tells me I have to be there at 8 or at something. And I can, I went working before taking a shower. This is kind of freedom too, because then I play for 1 hour. I let the solvers do their job. And then I use that time that I have to wait anyways to take a shower and drink the first coffee. That's like, for me, this is different than a 9-to-5 job. It's just working during daytime or living during daytime. And you mentioned it, I guess, before. It's just that feeling. You can spend the afternoon with your friends, or you can go to like whichever sports you like at 7 with all the other normal people. And this is just what I like so much. And it just gives me a better life overall. I hope, at least.
So is it also because you enjoy playing online more?
It's like the how much I enjoy it is kind of in waves, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like we'll talk about that Supernova Elite year later, but there I was totally over it, right? Because it was kind of a job. I was chasing a goal. I needed to play no matter the weather outside, no matter down or upswing, no matter whatever. And it's like right now I'm enjoying it. It's kind of challenging. I know I'm not at the top of the cash game world right now, but I kind of got the thrill for it again, and I'm working hard, and I'm doing fine. And back then I remembered I was so over it, and like that, wow, my friends are playing those live high rollers and they are not really better than me. And let's just jump in there. And then was like this, wow, we're flying to the Bahamas or anything. And it's like insane. And not that I left the hotel there too much, but it still feels different. And it's like you've been somewhere and that shifted back again, especially in the end, 2018. I was not cashing anything pretty much until November. And I was grinding all of it, and it was kind of in a downswing, I guess. But it was obviously all fine. But I had that feeling when talking to my non-poker friends, especially, and I'm like, oh fuck, I don't want to go. Like I have to go to Vegas tomorrow again. And it's like that view in their face that tells you that something is wrong, right? You shouldn't be pissed about flying to the Bahamas or flying to Vegas the next day. And I was like one other part that I realized was like the WSOP. I always went there, made it 2 parts, and flew back home in between. I couldn't do the 6-7 weeks straight, so I took like two weeks off in between. It was fine for me to fly back to Europe, and I remember that one talk I had with a friend there, and she was like, hey, you can go wherever you want. Like, what do you plan? Where's your next vacation? Where do you go? Thailand, Australia, whatever. And I'm just like showing her, here, this is my vacation right now, like not going anywhere. And this is just like, but this is what the guy in the chat said. Like, you always want to kind of have what you don't have a little. And that for me, it's about the mix, just like being aware of that and just like really designing your life in a way that just it gives you the most.
Absolutely. And plus, it's important what you've mentioned, that it's not really like the routine is not what you seek. It's more the freedom to actually do what you want to do, right? When you have to travel with the high roller scene, there's not much freedom really. You have a stop, you need to make it. So you buy the tickets, you go there, then and let's face it, you play the tournaments in the high roller scene, so you make day 2. Well, you have to be there. You play the whole day. You have to be there. You have your little breaks once in a while. It's a bit tough.
It's pretty much it's so much because in those high rollers, there's other people investing in you, etc. So it's a lot. It's just you're not just responsible for yourself. At least this is what the feeling I had, and like skipping the best tournaments of the year is just kind of a no-go, which gave me some pressure. Like one thing was like, oh, like even that the way I talk, it's obviously a great thing to be part of that whole show, but thinking in a way of, oh, I have to be in Vegas end of May already because there is Super High Roller Bowl, which is, or it was always the by far best tournament, rake-free, guaranteed recreational players, etc. And at the end of the series, mid of July, there is the main event and I don't know, the 100K in the Rio, where it's like, oh wait, I have to be there. I have really that feel I must be there end of May and again end of July. And how do I fit that in my schedule? Like it's European summer is the best time of the year, and there's like every second year there is Euros or the World Cup. So it's like it does not fit in there, and that was it's so stupid, but it's like some pressure it gives you because skipping is not an option.
Right.
So do you also feel more pressure while playing when you have investors? Is it also important to you because online if you just use your own bankroll, it's just different?
No, not really. This is just the case because the main investors I had, and them, are just like the most relaxed people in the world. It gives you a different feeling being on stream a little, but I liked it always because I feel like I'm even more focused a little. But yeah, it's just, I think for others it might give you pressure, but it's more that, what do people think, like people in general in that world think about you? Why could you ever skip this one? This is what I was talking about before, that I think it's the pressure you make yourself. Like no one would ever talk like that. Like, why did he skip Super High Roller Bowl? And if I tell them I want to be at home because it's the best time of the year, like, so what? But it's like still inside.
Yeah, I know that feeling. And also sometimes you just don't know before, You have to travel to another country, like all around the globe, and then the tournament isn't even that great. So you never really know before.
Yeah, like the one moment that kind of really pissed me off was when they postponed they changed the time of the Super High Roller Bowl from May to December. And it was Super High Roller Bowl was always the big thing in the year. Like I remember there, the first one that Reiner and Fedor got first and second. That was the first time I've been there around. The second year I played and won it. Was it Christoph in 17 or 18?
Oh, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. I think 17. But it was like always great stories around. And like I remember we were in Australia when they had that lottery for who gets in the Super High Roller Bowl. And it was like a weird time zone. And I remember we were all staying in like a house and Koray knocked at my door and I think Stefan Schillhabel was in there. And we all watched then the lottery to get in because this is like the insane value to get into that tournament. And it was like, you got thrilled about it. And then, most of us got in and it was great. And then there was December 2017, I guess, where they made another Super High Roller Bowl, the second in the year. They were like capping it at 42 or 48 seats. And they didn't give us any information at all. There was a lottery. And that got postponed without even telling us. They all have our emails, they have my phone number, everything. And it's like, I mean, it's about a 30K deposit that's non-refundable. It's a 300K tournament. I mean, it should be a serious business. And I just had the feeling that they wanted to fuck up the non-Vegas players. And I mean, I'm not like jetting around and have my private jet to fly everywhere. I want to book flights like at least 1 or 2 weeks in advance, or even further like normal people do. On the one hand to save money and on the other hand to get the flight. And it was Christmas time in Vegas and they couldn't tell me until like 1 week before whether that tournament takes place. And the whole thing was that they only had like 34 players signing up. There was no need for lottery, etc., etc. They could have just told me, hey, you're safe in, it's not enough people, you can book your stuff, you can plan your Christmas. I mean, for me, it's a thing being home at Christmas or not, and plan that, getting home on the 21st or 22nd or whatever. And this is where they really like showed me that they have they don't value you as a customer. It's like they see you as someone who is around, who makes money with it. And this is where I really realized this is not the kind of business I want to be. Part of this is the wrong thing, but where it's just like, I don't enjoy it. Let's take it that way.
Yeah, especially that uncertainty it's already hard enough to have to plan all the travels and arrange your life around that. And if you don't even know when you show up that there's actually going to be the game, that really sucks.
Yeah, it's fine when the game is your life, but it's not fine when it's just your job and you want to live a normal life next to the game.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And Tiny Nigel is asking basically something along the lines there. So where's this pressure coming from? Because you're saying, if you are in the scene, if you're actively playing the high rollers, or in general, if you're actively playing the live tournaments, you sort of feel that you have to travel there, you have to go there, you have to do this. Obviously, there's no external pressure. There's no boss over your shoulder saying, hey, Stefan, pack your bags, we're sending you there. So it's your decision. But where does this pressure coming from? Why do you have this approach?
It's two things. Like, first of all, everyone who gets to that point is just super competitive. So you you don't want to travel, but you want to be in there. Like what hurts the most is not going there and then reading poker news and reading the winner. And it's not one of your friends, but another one. And it's like, fuck it, right? Just like, it's just random variance, but you're pissed, or I'm at least. Mm-hmm. And the second thing is what I said before, you're not playing with your own money there. It's even when like your personal investors, whatever, are super relaxed. It's the rates, who gets how much markup, who is seen as like who he's one of the best, or another one is not one of the best. This whole poker world kind of makes the price for you. Not showing up decreases clearly your value. This is just this is not logical too much. It might help you actually staying at home and study, but it's just people are like that. And if you haven't won anything for like 6 months or 10 months, you get downgraded in like your rating pretty much. So this is something, if you see it as your job, that's the pressure you make yourself, right? You don't want to decrease your value or anything. So, and as well, I mean, you want to do your job as well. If you decide I'm like full-time live tournament pro, then you kind of feel the need of going somewhere. It's not like I'm a poker pro, but I want to be the best, and then I play the highest stakes cash, I play the highest tournaments, and I do this and that on the side. I mean, to be really good in something, you should focus at least a little on one thing, which
Absolutely.
is like, I have the most respect for those people that figure out, that have been on the top in some discipline, but now figure out that they are not anymore. And you see great players on like mid stakes. And I hope to like be like non-biased in that area too. And like I played, I don't know, the last 3 months of 2019, I played like 300k hands cash mid stake just to kind of show myself how good I am, like or not, and realizing that I know there are clearly players that are better, and I found out that I'm actually doing okay in like those lineups, but I would never, just because I could play financially or whatever those stakes, I would never see myself there, right? It's like it's the work that gets you there, and the respect for the game you need, and yeah, so it's kind of, if coming back to that point, if it's your job, you kind of want to stick to it as well.
Absolutely, and I want to come back to that point just in a second, but I want to first mention one thing which made me smile when you said, you've grinded like 300,000 hands in mid stakes just to prove to yourself that you're still good and you still can do it, and which is awesome. Some people have a very different approach of proving the same thing to themselves, and Phil Galfond comes to mind. I think your approach is probably the smarter way, because. Well, anyway, that's just a side note. But yeah, coming back to all that discussion of, I'm also of the opinion, I mean, it's not like an opinion, it's a fact, that if you actually want to achieve something in poker, or anywhere else for that matter, on a very, very high level, you have to be absolutely dedicated to it, right? And the amount of studies you have to put in to be competitive at the highest high roller games and, high roller tournaments, it's an insane amount of work behind the scenes. So you're not going to do this amount of work just to play like 3 tournaments a year. That would be really silly. So if you're doing that work, you might as well actually go and be present everywhere. And obviously all the other factors that you've mentioned, that just because how the market works, you have a value as a player, and you can't just sit out and and hope that value doesn't decrease, because it will.
Yeah, it's like for me now, going somewhere and like trying to play a high roller, I mean, my value is different since, I didn't play live high roller forever. There are lots of people who just work on that. Just like the time I kind of stopped playing regularly was like the Australians, for example, like Michael Adamo, Cale Burns. Shout out to them, like, who are doing a great job and running over to Michael Zhang. Kind of, I count them in their crew as well, like the crazy guys who are all in every second hand. It's like, they are just playing well, right? And that stuff. And like, obviously, there's like, I can come back and like not think about anything, and I can play an EPT main. I'm so arrogant to say that, right? But it's like I could probably compete in like a soft high roller, but it's not like I'm a top 5 where I rank myself at some point in time. So,
and I think also like what is very refreshing from all of this discussion is that how you try to be objective with the opinion about yourself. How you take the ego out of the equation, which I think something that brings a lot of people in trouble, of not realizing that, just because I was top 3 doesn't mean I'm always going to be top 3. right? And it's so important to always be objective with evaluating where you are. And of course, for you, it comes, at least to me from outside looking at that, is just because to get to the point where you got, which was super, super high up there in terms of, you know, best players in the world at that stage a few years ago, the work ethic that you had to get to that point is insane, right? The amount of work you did in the studies on working on your game. So you sort of know what it takes to be there. And you know that if you don't keep doing that, you're obviously falling behind the curve because there's other people who are doing that.
Yeah, like I never had that. Well, I always, I don't know, I gotta hate on the Americans here right now. I don't know. But like they always, for me, just like my impression that most of them, they had that, I don't know, like when like being born, they have that natural confidence in them, which I felt like I never had. Like the really, hey, we are the best of the best in the world. This is like what they get taught in school, like pretty much all the time. So it's maybe from there where it's just like I mean, it's just a few characters in the poker world that I'm like having that impression obviously from. But I never had that where I'm like, I like same thing with the mid stakes grind. I got to prove to my like no clue how good I am because, and this feeling is coming from okay, I know I'm kind of smart guy. Okay, there must be lots of other kind of smart guys out there in the world. And I know what I'm doing, but at the other hand, I know like how much more I could be doing. And I think there was like one Instagram or Twitter post from Jason Kuhn who ended like the whole thing he was talking about, like you want my spot, then work hard, etc., and try to get it. And he ended those words with like there will always be like a smarter kid than you sitting somewhere in Belarus working harder and more than you, referring to Mikita Badziakowski there. Mm-hmm. And I have that feeling in me. Like I mean, I don't know. I just see like open sitting stars, high stakes, random Russian names I don't know personally. I don't know, random people from living in the UK, wherever they are from, as like, well, they are doing nothing else than grinding those cash games. And I mean, getting there, they are probably as smart as myself or smarter. And I know how much more you could do than I did the last X years. And at least a couple of those must have done more. So they will be better. It's not like that equation, like that's not part of it that I'm just better than like others. Why? Like there must be a reason why you are better or not. So yeah.
Yep.
I think it's so interesting because you know, in order to play the highest stakes, you need a kind of confidence and ego, but on the other hand, you also need to be humble enough to see when you're like outmatched or when you're not good enough anymore.
That's the tough part. I mean, for my story, I think it's very, very clear that I mean, we had our German crew, right? So there you got all parts. You got they are all shit, and I'm kind of overconfident, or that's how I would take it. You got those people.
We want to hear names.
Fedor, right? I mean, he was like, yeah, they are all shit. We can beat them easily, right? Like we got to work hard, sure, but we beat them. They are shit, like obviously. Probably right at some point in time. Obviously, people were playing shit in 2015 compared to nowadays, and it was kind of easy to be better than them. And you have like those analytical guys like Dom putting everything, like he probably had a solver before a solver was out there. I don't know. And he ran everything through there, and he just, I don't know, he does a stupid move calling someone who always has it there, and like he looks it up in the solver that this is a mixed call and his frequency was fine, and we look at him like, just shut the fuck up and fold, right? We had that big mix, and like for my part, if like especially the overconfident part of the group, if that didn't exist, I would have never played. It was like, I mean, Fedor has such a big part in me getting into those games because I was always like, even, I mean, he played for like 1.5 years live only before I started playing, and he was like really not begging me, but like he was like telling us, come on, guys, you need to play that. This is where the value is right now. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just, I'm like crushing Zoom 500, okay, but this is not a 25K, right? That's $500, and I'm playing good 1K, 2K, and maybe 5K tables as well. Yeah, I'm doing okay there, and this is seen as like the best cash game in the world, okay, but a tournament is different, and I'm not sure whether I'm good enough, and you're like, you gotta play, they are all shit, right? If this part did not exist, I would have never played a 25K plus, and that's just for sure.
Wow, that's super interesting because, you come across as a very confident guy, and that's just something I wouldn't have guessed,
Yeah, I don't know, I think like there's things where I see that a lot of people think I would be confident, or I've heard arrogant as well in some areas, because I often I don't have a clear opinion, but when I'm like really sticking to that and I'm sure that I'm right, which is like annoying for others. But this one is like, I'm pretty like same thing again. I'm pretty sure about what I think about all that is correct. I remember the first high roller pretty much I played, or it started in 2016 January. I was in Australia. Was it where we met? Maybe, yeah. Maybe. And a shout out to Mikkel Hub, maybe. And
you gotta do his move.
This is you gotta Google for Mikkel Hub and what's the Samantha Abernathy.
I think you can't find it anymore.
You cannot find it anymore.
Yeah.
It was like insane. Not a slow roll plus suck out was like a good story. And that was our favorite clip around that time. And I was just there to play the main. And Fedor was playing like the 50K, 100K, 250K, whatever they had there. And he was like, you got to play that stuff. And I'm like, no, come on. Like, this is my first 10K. Just chill. And then I went back to Brighton, where I lived at that time, after not cashing the main, obviously. And it was like such a shitty weather. And it was one of my Supernova Elite years. And I grinded there, and I was so pissed. The weather was shit. I was running shit, etc. And then he was like, come on, let's fly. I'm in Miami next week. Why not coming there? There's like a super, super soft 25K and an even softer like 3.5K re-entry main event, or 5K, I don't know. And I was like, okay, I need another friend who convinced me, okay, we fly together. Other story, that was Julian Thomas, and I ended up flying alone. But so I've been there. This was my first 25K, and there I realized, okay, they are really all shit. Like they were like players, I don't know. I don't know. They couldn't even remember their two cards, it felt like, for me. And then this was the first time I met Nick, for example, as well, Nick Petrangelo, and he was like, who are you? And I did not really want to tell. Like I kind of thought it's an advantage that I know all those guys from playing online, Sittingos and stuff. And after 3 or 4 beers, he got me, and I told him, and he was like, I want to have all your action, and like, just tell me when you sell something. And I was like, all right, maybe this is now starting to be proof enough that I should play that stuff. And then it's just such a small step from like really thinking, oh, this is a 25K, this is way too much money, and like, this is not your money you're playing with, and this is just so weird, to gain that confidence, or just gain that feeling of, well, you really should play that stuff, and it's the best you can do. Then it's like a normal thing.
So just to be clear, you didn't have a lot of experience before, life experience?
We can look up my hand.
So you jumped right into the high roller scene?
I can tell you.
That's a ballsy move.
The first, I played Goes and Stars, which is like the highest thing for, so it's like, but still, live was a different thing. So my first live tournament was the WPT Vienna. Oh, another story I'm very proud of, actually. The very first hand I play, I get min 3-bet by Sergei Barbares, a former German soccer player. I peel with ace-3 suited, board bricks, and I check fold. But I'm out after 2 hours. It was like a 3K. Fedor was chip leading, like on the final table, but there was the players' party the night before the final table. And well, you can guess who was responsible for Fedor missing like the first couple of orbits on that final table. And I think he was even chip leading and finished the tournament in 8th because he really needed to go to bed. So that was a great party we were having there, and I'm kind of proud of that story.
So what was it like when you played your first high roller tournament? Because for me, it was something special. It was just different.
I don't remember too well. Like that there was like a special feeling or something. I remember, I made the final table in that 25K, and I remember at that point of time, I was so fucking nervous. I remember one hand, I played against Nick Petrangelo, and he was like, you know how he looks like. He sits there like the fucking boss, right? I'm like there, this is my first high roller. I tried to hide, like I did not pull the Christoph moves, but like close. Right? I really tried just to hide and play my game. And I remember one hand, I don't know the exact board and stuff, but it's like button or cutoff versus big blind against Nick. He check raises on like a 10-10-5 board. I'm totally full of shit, but I just know that he is full of shit as well. Like sometimes you know. So I call to float the shit out of him. Turn is another brick. He checks to me. Or it was a 10-10-5 and turn 10-5-5 turn pairs the 10. And I'm like, okay, now my queen high has showdown value. I can bluff him on the river, whatever. But I'm like, I'm so nervous. I just want to end the hand here. He has so many check folds. So I go for the quarter pot stab, and fucking Nick Petrangelo goes for the double check raise. And I reviewed the hand later with Fedor, and I remember him saying, he's so full of shit. You got to go all the way there. And I know like in one point of time, I would have done that, but not my first live final table. And well, the whole story ended. I was tanking there, super nervous. I threw my queen high away, and Petrangelo obviously showed me the jack 9 with a flush draw or something. And like, okay, yeah, it's like I knew you were full of shit, but I just couldn't pull the double float fuck you trigger. This is what I remember. Like I was so nervous.
That sounds like a proper solver move. Double
Definitely.
float fuck you river. Or
yeah. Sometimes you got to do things.
This is
at least back then.
Yeah. Listen, I think very interesting subject that probably is interesting for a lot of people, not just me, is the subject of the crews, right? Because you've been talking about, the German crew, etc., etc., and obviously you guys were like the first ones which were pretty much like a close-knit community of people pushing each other, right? And the story of you telling about the influence of Fedor, how he motivated basically all of you guys by just being super confident and pushing you in the right direction. And then you had the analytical people in the group, and all sorts of people. So eventually the whole group gets the synergy of everybody pushing each other in a good direction, right? Because this German group was basically one of the first ones that actually took it seriously, of working together and pushing each other forward. Because nowadays, if we look around, like pretty much everybody works with other people, right? Because people came to a conclusion that, hey, you want to achieve something big in this business, you have to work with other people. You have to have coaches, you have to have mental coaches, you have to have, just people playing the same games that you do, that you can share ideas with, and people who are just going to motivate you, right?
Like 100%. It's I think before, all the high rollers were kind of an American thing. You had like the old people like Phil Ivey, Dan Negreanu, etc., who've just been around forever. Plus you had those, the story of every American high roller is the same, right? It's like, I was a student, I somehow got into poker, I made $1 gazillion million in like the first month. And then when I had 10K bankroll, I satellited into PCA, and then I got second in the tournament. Right? This is the story of every single American high roller, kind of, or they've just been the best at what they did. Right? Like a Ben 86, or I don't know, like just crushing everything and then starting to play high rollers because they just have the 5 to 20 million. I don't know. It's different numbers. So they were like, they all had their achievements pretty much on their own, and then they met. we were like, there was not like some 2008 poker boom money in that group that we had. There was Fedor winning everything, okay, and the others doing their job, like grinding Zoom 500 or grinding the Sunday Millions, etc. But our group was kind of everyone was not there for like without a reason. So it was all it started 2014, the good old Cherry Island story when we went to Canada to play Scoop, and all the people who, most of them ended up being in that high roller crew, were kind of pre-selected by Fedor. And he's just a super smart guy, and he just knows how to surround himself with the people that are needed in such a group. So it's not just that it's a group that met and worked together, it's just a kind of selected group that fits well together and works together. It's like we have Dom, who has been there forever. That's the only one who was like not selected somehow.
Yeah, it's super interesting that you say that, because even from the outside it looked like that. Because you were like the 100 BB guy, then there was Spencer B, the short stack guy, then there was Rainer, the sit and go wizard, and it just seemed like it was somebody thought it through.
I don't know how much he thought it through. I think he was big into reading the random forums. It's like Poker Strategy. DE was like the German poker school forum where I had a blog and Ben CB had a blog and Rainer and Julian had a blog together. And I think Fedor just read all that and chose by like the quality of how much he likes what is written there. And he actually just I was about to finish university and we have never met before. And he just wrote me in Skype, hey, are you this Alda Falda? Was my screen name there. Are you this guy? I like what you write. Do you want to join for grinding Scoop in Canada for like 6 weeks? I mean, it's like 2 weeks before, 2 weeks Scoop, 2 weeks after. Like, yeah, I don't play tournaments, but why not, right? I just finished uni the month before. And this is all that random stuff needs to come together to get into that spot. It's like super random that my way ended up the way it ended, like poker-wise. But it's just a different design than like different people getting there kind of to the top by like binking a big tournament or being super good in like one discipline of poker, and then trying to get along, which is like what happened after the Germans won everything. Like everyone says the Germans won everything. It's not the thing. Fedor won everything, and all the Germans sometimes won like a little something. And and then they started to group together. It's like, but different factors as well. I mentioned it before, where I thought it's big advantage that I had in the beginning. That they just knew like, okay, I'm a random German, and I probably have to do with Fedor, but well, I played all those guys in cash. I don't know how much I played with Justin Bonomo, Zoom 1K, for example, at that point of time, or like the sit and goes with Petrangelo and others. And I knew like their stats and potential leaks or anything, and sitting there on the live table, just like hiding. I tried to take the live part out of it. And I had that at one point, plus we had the group of people that already played infinite tournaments with those, and just like asking and sharing, how does this guy play? Or like in those spots, what do you think? Is he like how ICM aware? Does he overfold? Does he not overfold in certain spots? I had all those information, and this is where like a large part of the edge that I would like, just looking back now, which we clearly had, not just obviously. There was at least one guy in the group who ran insanely hot, but I'm very certain that there's like there was a huge edge as well, just like because of partly because of the working together.
Yeah, and it's also like, to me, the interesting part about it, like one of the interesting, because there's so many interesting parts about it, but it's just, nobody really worked like this before. Like, it wasn't a thing. Right? There wasn't a group of people who were trying to achieve something at the high level and like super committed and trying to find people with different talents and so that's super fun to realize, because like nowadays you look at all these other groups of people. Americans, they have their own group, they have their own WhatsApp group chats. Comparing the notes, pushing each other. Obviously all the Russians have their groups, and all sorts of countries. And it's not only limited to countries. Like people know, okay, you need the groups, and also like if we think about it, in the tournament scenes, there's the slipped my mind, like BitB staking or whatever that thing is, right? So
It'd be a poker. You have like, I don't know, all that, so much South American stuff, I guess, as well.
Exactly. So, and in cash games you have different things for Hold'em and PLO, like Bluff the Spot, for example, right? So basically a company that builds a group with coaches and the students to push each other to achieve something in no limit cash games, no limit Hold'em cash games, and PLO cash games, right? So this is all normal. This is like so obvious to everybody who's trying to figure out, okay, what's the best way to progress quickly. It's obvious, okay, we need to work in a group and we need to take it seriously. The part about you guys just coming together and kind of creating this, or realizing that that's the way, that's so fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, it's like shout out to Fedor here. I think he was the main part of like pushing that whole group together a little. And yeah, I agree totally. I mean, in which kind of sports or competitive environment in the world is it possible to compete at the highest level just like doing everything by yourself? Like this does not really exist. Right? Every sports people, they have their team around them, right? And or like even, I don't know, I'm just thinking of athletics, for example, track and field, like everywhere different names. Like they even pre-select in the country or like local area the best people that they can train together, etc., to get better. And it's just, I mean, it's just the same thing. And nowadays I'm just trying to have my cash game buddies around me as well. And yeah.
I mean, it seems so obvious now, but back in the days nobody did it. And so
do you know
the first group?
There was like the big word in the German forum. I don't know whether it qualifies as an English word, but it was called content hiding mafia.
Oh, yeah.
That was like the big thing. Like people were scared of giving away like the magic clues that make you win in poker, right? When people check twice, you can just bet large because then they fold. They are full of shit. Like as if it was something magical like that. Like that the people got taught that made it up there somehow by chance or by being just smarter in those early days where poker was so unsolved and no one had a clue, that they just like they got that mindset of not giving away anything. This is what I felt. Like I even had it from like reading through those forums, like writing a blog, that like I would be too shy to ask someone who's clearly better for his opinion, because it's like asking him for money pretty much. That was, I don't know, that was kind of the energy that was around there.
Yeah, it's true. And sometimes it still feels like that, because if you hire a good coach, you also have to pay like $500 an hour. And so if you just ask them for free advice, basically,
yeah.
So it's just,
but it's like it helps you so much. Like if someone is clearly better, okay, that's probably helps one guy way more than the other. But so often just working together with people that are somewhat on your level just pushes you both like 2 levels ahead. Like, and I was always a big fan of it. I was writing that blog and like talking about strategy. I was not the best, right? I was just moving my way up the stakes. But obviously, when I was playing NL25, the people playing NL5 could learn something, and I was happy about that. I hated that even now in like the 218, I don't know, high roller years, when people were hiding their content, right? Everyone had those solvers, everyone could run it. And if there was an interesting spot, I mean, why shouldn't I tell it, right? There are some people, I don't want to call out names here, but that pissed me off, like really. Like, yeah, okay, I'll put in the solver myself, but I've seen you have run it already. What would have been the line? Like, just tell me, right? It's like, it's out there. And then getting the answer, I think you should do that work yourself. Like, just like, it's really nothing special. I have to just like waste 10 minutes of my life, and you make me waste 10 minutes of my life instead of telling me the answer. It won't help me right now against you. It's like, and I like that open attitude there, just like.
Yeah, and also, nowadays there's not one big secret you don't want to share. It's like everybody has access to solvers, and everybody
just like
knows how to
saving time or not, right?
Yeah.
No, like I want you to sit down and waste 10 minutes of your life to get to the point where I am already and I could tell you. It's like, yeah. I mean, but on the next day he wants to have dinner with me. Sorry, like it's. Yeah.
Yeah.
So somebody's asking if you think that's also possible to do that without a group. For example, Linus seems to just do it all by himself.
Linus definitely has a group. I mean, he is like, it's different personalities as well. He's one who is like, I don't know him too well. It's just like from seeing him sometimes, it's just the guess that he is like, he's avoiding parties. Let's say this is the one experience I have where I was invited in his flat at his flatmate's party, and I was there. I thought I was there pretty much. I was half an hour late, but still one of the first people to be there, and I was the last guy leaving. And then I asked his flatmate, by the way, where was Linus the whole night? Oh, he has been here in the beginning, so probably the first 5 minutes. But then he went to work like downstairs, like in his room to run the solvers and stuff. So he's really like that guy, just like sitting there in his office working on it. I think there was even a blog he had. I might mix that up, like or on 2+2 where he was writing about like just he like pretty early where he was like still struggling on 500 or 1K. Like I want to be the best in the world and I'll give everything to it, and he just kept going.
But I think that was the Baron, right?
No,
wasn't it OTB?
OTB had a blog too, but not like the story I'm thinking about. Like this, I'm 1K right now and I'm like breaking even, but I want to be the best in the world, and this is my motivation. Like that's a different one that I always had. Like I never wanted to be like the best player in the world or anything.
Oh, but I have to check that out later.
Yeah. I might mix that up, but not with the Red Baron. I'm not sure. Don't want to tell wrong stuff, so it's just what I have in my mind.
Yeah, but anyway, the thing is that of course Linus has a group of people, of course, because like you don't achieve the heights, by just sitting alone, solver or no solver. I mean, you can be the biggest geek in the world and sit 20 hours a day in front of the computer. It's not gonna make like.
And then we can come back to the story. There will be one guy who is as much of a geek as you are, but he will have his crew, which has to have advantages, right?
Exactly.
So.
All right, let's address a few more questions from the chat. We've been having some activity. People are asking, are you going to stream again?
I might, like, I know it was just in our, like when we were talking before the stream, you asked me for No Limit Gaming, where it's like my buddy's Stefan Schillhabel's project. We had birthday yesterday, by the way, so happy birthday, Stefan, if you or some of the NLG fans are watching.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, man.
And it's his project and I'm like helping him out. So it was like we looked for like starting the whole esports project with the poker team, and and I was like happy to help him there, like with streaming, to get some sponsors, etc., to get the name out there. I tried like that. This is what most people remember, where I was streaming like every day for 1 week straight or 10 days straight. I don't know. I just tried it out, whether that could be something for me to do more, where I think like, I'm not sure, probably not, but there will be the occasional streams where I'm just like streaming for No Limit Gaming. Right now there are other projects planned. We had the coaching Todd project, so we had 2 coachings so far. Like an esports legend to coach him in, that is poker interested, to coach him in poker. Now we have another coaching with like a really, really well-known Counter-Strike player. So I will probably, we're still working on the details, but I will coach him. So, and I don't want to invest too much time. So I want to help him out, but don't want to make that a really, really big deal. And as long as there are projects like that, I won't stream. But if there are no projects, then I'm like every now and then just put a random stream out there.
Nice. So the same person is asking, do you plan to move up the stakes, or are you content grinding 500 to 1K NL? But you're playing higher than that as well all the time. It's just that the games are not there on a regular basis.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not battling Rex on like 2K plus because I just think they are better than me, or I just guess they have to be better. So right now I'm always open seeding 500 and 1K. There's either I'm slightly better than most of the Rex. It's like, I mean, I got to be a little confident at least, right? Or when we play 3 or 400, the occasional recreationals that come on those limits just make up for the reg war where we lose. Let's say everyone is as good as the others, then we obviously pay reg. So it's like, I'm doing fine, like really good in those stakes right now. And Zoom 500 is like, sometimes it's just a rake trap, sometimes it's good. So I try to be selecting there. I mean, I obviously want to make money, but there's like different motivations to playing poker. It's not, right now for me, it's not to only make money. It's like to get better at cash games as well. So sometimes it's just good to play tough games as well, especially when there are no good games running. But I'm playing like 2K. I'm happy to play 5K when I'm a clear winner in that, like anytime. I even played some 10K this year. So it's like, it's not a limit. I want to beat the game I'm playing in. The Zoom 500 is just the limit that is pretty much always running, and where really, really good people sometimes still play. Like people clearly better than me play that. So this is pretty much like a training tool as well.
Mm-hmm. All right. So another question is, do you think it will be possible to make 3 to 4 big blinds at NL200 Zoom for the next 5 years?
When Stars doesn't keep increasing the rate, I think for sure. Like Zoom 200 is a limit. I always thought like, okay, there will be like the wave of gazillion Asian or Eastern European players where just like those limits, like 100, 200 gives them in their countries a really, really, really good living, that there must be like, just like armies of those players, but that never happened. So I guess like it's still, maybe I think it's easier than it is to get there because I'm just so much into it. And the thing is, which makes me positive about that question is that there will always be people in like rich countries that like to spew off $200. Like this has been always like that, and it will stay like that. Live poker will always be there when it comes to like normal money, and something up to 500 online will always be a thing because it's just like those people exist. It is fun to play for $200 if you can afford it. It's a fun game. I like the game a lot, so it's like it is a lot of fun. So people will do it, and this means that people will make money with it. And right now, I think it's possible to get like up to 8 bigs, I guess, when you don't select the pool too much. Even more when you select the pool. I don't know. I played lots of Zoom 200 actually. But I was like up to 8 tabling Zoom, and I have like 6 BB right now without really like focusing on the people too much. So I think like 8 is possible, or the strongest players in there should have something like that. And yeah, I mean, question for 5 years is not not the smartest question in poker, because 5 years is like centuries compared to other industries, but. I'm feeling positive on that.
So I have a follow-up question. You said that one of your main motivations for poker is to get better. And do you think that you always want to play no limit hold'em, or do you think that it's also fun to try to go, for example?
Yeah, my motivation for poker is not getting better. I mean, it's like I have to get better to beat it, obviously, or like to beat the stakes I want to beat to make the money. Like my motivation in poker is I like the game. I can make money with it, and well, it's fun, and I want to make a good living out of it. This is my motivation for poker. I said before, the motivation for a session. When I sit down for a session, I usually have a goal. Sometimes in the morning I play a few tables, and my goal is really just I want to battle good players now, really, because this is where I can think the smartest, I guess, or I'm like not getting tired or anything. So this is really my if you want to call it a game, then I bring that and I'm fine. Like whether I lose a little there or win a little, it's not like there are other people who are just always table selecting well. This is the motivation. I'm just playing that to make money. For me, I'm not just looking in the solver. I learn a lot by playing as well to really face problems there, think about them, and then look them up later. But for me, it's way better to really to when I have been in that situation. This was what I meant with the motivation of getting better. Okay. It's not like, like your question referred a little to like, or made me remember Petrangelo again, who says like, I want to do that forever and ever, right? I would love to see something outside of poker that I enjoy as much. And then like, I don't need the game. Like, it's like, I can go on vacation for 4 weeks and don't have that degen thing in me that I need to play, or even longer. It's like, no, I still enjoy it, but it's not like a job, but it's like, something in between. If there was something that I would be thrilled about, I would be happy to know it. I didn't see anything so far, unfortunately.
I mean, you also told me before that it's just in your nature, and you started with what's the name of the game again? So you grinded Battlefield or something like
Warcraft? No, what? Oh, the Schlachtplatz. Oh.
Yeah, I mean that's a German name, but if you translate it.
It's like we were talking about when Toby added me on Skype. I have a weird non-poker related Skype name, and I told him that's like the name comes from a browser game I played when I was 10 or 12 or something, and that just shows I was very competitive, and obviously you could attack people there. And the best time is that when they don't see it, because like moving your troops, etc., takes time. So there were some alarm clocks 4 a.m. And when I was 12 and I had to go to school at 6, and my dad wakes me up at 6:30. They would kill me if they knew that I get up there. So I had to like really be careful, not letting anyone know, and like what is schleichen, right? To move downstairs where the one computer in the house was, and but I ended up being first place in that 10,000 runner field until they deleted me for multi-accounting, which was obviously not the case. I did other shit, but the one they deleted me for, I didn't do it. And it was really sad because those accounts, you could sell them. There was like a market for it, and like the account with like the strength of mine was like worth 150 euros, which was for a 12-year-old, or I don't know.
So that was your first downswing.
I literally cried. Like was like one guy just programming the whole thing. He had like a call with me because I was kind of a big deal there. and I mean, I couldn't help myself. I was 12, and then I was like, I think it was worse than like when the pet of a 12-year-old dies. Like I think that feeling for like nerds like me. I mean.
Oh, wow. It's so funny.
Yeah.
And by the way, I see Skrimitsu just subscribed to our channel. Good to see you here, man. We had a fun podcast with him. Speaking of a fun podcast with him, we had a question if you guys can rewatch this episode on YouTube. Yes, you will be able to do it. We're going to post it on YouTube in about like a week and a half. You can look it up on Runchuks Poker on YouTube, the channel. We have all the podcast episodes there.
You should work on that, by the way. When Toby told me about the podcast, I tried to Google it, and I had no chance of finding it.
Yeah, because Toby didn't tell you what to look for properly, I think.
Yeah, but if I know it's like something with Bluff the Spot, and it's like something with PLO, and it's on Wednesday, and it's a podcast, I think I should be able to find it.
That's true. I mean, you know, we're kind of still an amateur hour in many ways here, right? But I don't care. I mean, I'm having fun.
True professionals.
We're true professionals when it comes to playing poker. This we're doing for fun, and to me, that's so.
Toby the dog is here as well.
Because we always talk about, many of the episodes that we had, we talk about, having the team, surrounding you with the people that push you, share ideas and motivate you, open your eyes to new things, right? And I feel like with every guest that we have here, having this conversation in such a long format where there's no agenda, nobody's trying to sell anything or market, and it's just a normal conversation. I always get something out of it that pushes me to see some new things and see new perspectives, and it's just so awesome. So I don't care. You can't find it on YouTube. Well, at least I had fun. I'm sure one day we're gonna get better with it.
Pretty much having a beer and having a good conversation. And
exactly.
The others can watch if they want, and if not, it's fine.
Exactly. That's the whole thing here. All right. What else? Well, let's quickly address a couple more questions in the chat and then go ahead with our own discussion the way we want it. So Wodgi is saying that Kanu said that the skill difference between Zoom 500 and 10K NL is like going from 2 NL to 500 Zoom all over again. Do you think that's true?
I think this couldn't be further away from the truth because it's the same people playing NL10K and showing up in Zoom 500. So obviously someone whose highest stakes he's playing is Zoom 500. It's still a long way to get to that level where the players are playing 10K, but we have a bit too easy showing up in the Zoom 500 pool. We have how to pronounce it? I still call him Masher Dog. So MMA Sherdog or whatever.
Yeah, shout out to MMA, our fellow head
every
coach
now
here.
and then. We have Poker Kluka showing up in the Zoom 500. That's the same people that play 10K, right? We have some of the Russians. I think they run the solvers instead of playing Zoom 500 every now and then. But all those that have a little poker degen and they love the game, this is the highest game that is always running, right? So you need to play it. Obviously, overall, it's still way softer because you have top racks that just use that as like a training tool to get hands in. I don't think that Mesh, I keep calling him Masher Dog, whether it's right or not. It's like he doesn't really play Zoom 500 for the money, right? When you play 10K the next day. Obviously, you try to win, but it's not like his main motivation. Oh, I play Zoom 500 now to make a $150 hourly at like a random time. I don't think that this is the case. So, but they are playing it, and so it's the same. Plus, well, obviously you have the good but not like top racks, and then you have some like different spots than you have like on 10K. But sometimes even the 10K table can be softer because it's like two really good players, the ones that run a script, even if it's not allowed in stars, and they are usually not the very strongest players, and then you have like a super whale. So it's like I don't think there's a big difference.
Awesome, that's pretty cool.
Money wise, you should have a different bankroll to play 10K.
Well, yeah, that's true.
I can tell you something because this sucks. Like I started this year with a plan of just playing mid stakes because I will pay taxes in Germany, and the whole thing with like deducting losses from winnings can be difficult. I'm not really sure about it because it's not many people or no one I really know ever did it. Everyone I know lives in like Austria or England. So I wanted to make sure that I won't have like too many losing months or even the chance of having a losing year. So what happened was I got up January 3rd. I just didn't have a good sleep. I got up early at like 7:30 or 8 in the morning. And well, there was a 10K table running with a whale. So I needed to try that one out because it's like what I would have done the last year. And it was a great decision EV wise. But I obviously ran like ace king into aces the second orbit and lost like 2 or 3 other major pots. And I was stuck 30K for the year with the plan of grinding Zoom 500 and NL500 and NL1K. So it took me the February to break even there, and now we are at 0 again. So just like NL10K can kill your grind a little, but skill-wise, I think that table was softer than the usual Zoom 500.
Yeah, and like that tax situation is tricky for you, huh?
Yeah, it's super tricky because it's like the problem is that there are no rules like written down. They decide case to case, which allows them to do anything. And if you are not fine with it, you have to go to court pretty much. And there are no real other cases of like similar jobs or people doing exactly the same thing I do, where I can say like, okay, it's working like that there, and I do the same thing. Right? It's like there was like, I don't know, there was a thing, I'm lacking English words in that area. So there was a thing where they decided that there won't be value-added tax, Mehrwertsteuer for the Germans for poker winnings. That's what they made sure. But it's like, yeah, I mean, it's just tough. But I make sure that right now, I will only play with my money, which makes it easy because then it's 100% sure that I will only get taxed on winnings. Before it could be possible, if you have like swaps and shares, etc., that other people might win and you cannot deduct your losses, and then in the end of the year you are break even and someone wants like a 6-digit amount of money from you, which this is like what could kill you. And another reason why I'm just sticking to the cash game grind.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. What's interesting about it is also that, you know, you made this decision, right? You made a decision to move back to Germany, and to me, it's just so great. You know, I'm in a similar situation myself that, you know, I've made a lot of changes in my life just because I figured, you know what, I want to do something that is better for the overall life, you know, the quality of life, you know, with the little kid around and all that stuff. I want to have like a normal life, what we would call a normal life. And sometimes, you know, in your case, it means just going back to the roots, going back to your country and just having, you know, more enjoyable, more fulfilling, kind of fuller life. And yeah, you end up paying taxes, but okay, well, you know, it's part of...
Everyone does it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with paying taxes, right? And it's even, we had so many discussions, and I know from like the people I know really well that no one is lying about that. Everyone would be happy, and no one is like hiding away from taxes. If there was like a ruling that you could count on, like it would be way more people living in Germany. It's just like the risk of getting fucked up, right? No one wants to run the risk of like making 100K a year and then getting asked for 200K in taxes. And the only option to not do it is like going to court, and what happens there, you never know, right? So it's that's the main problem. So I worked on that the last year to figure as much out as I could to make that decision and to know what exactly I need to do to be on the safe side.
Right. And also, like, obviously that comes back to our discussion that, you know, why you stopped the high roller scene, etc., etc., and with the tax situation, with all the other things, it obviously makes so much sense. And let's talk about the Supernova Elite year, right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we've been talking a bit about, like, you know, this freedom, this ability to just basically, you know, start your day when you want to start it. And then, you know, if you feel like it, you grind till like whatever, 7 a.m., whatever it takes. And then you maybe take the next day off. You're free to do. Like, from my experience in the Supernova Elite year, I basically had a schedule that I was really diligent about sticking to the schedule. Like, I had a specific goal of hands per day in mind, and it was a pretty big goal. And then, even though my days didn't look crazy, it was usually just like 6 hours of playing, 4 to 6 hours on average. But still, like, you have this everyday grind, and you have to get back to it. And to me, the toughest point was when the big downswing started. Because normally my reaction to like a huge downswing, when you get emotionally invested in the whole thing, is I take a couple days off, maybe I take a week off, just away from poker, away from everything, just chill, relax, you come back hungry, you're happy. But where I was going for the Supernova Elite, I didn't have that ability to stop when I wanted. Did you experience the same thing, and how did you handle it, if you did?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. So first of all, I wanna tell everyone out there that number one advice is really to take those breaks. Like when you're in a downswing, that helps so much. Just like 3 days, fresh air in the brain, I call it. Like no poker, and then you get back with a different motivation, and things might just turn around. But I feel like my situation was kind of special. I obviously had downswings as well, and I was pissed, but I planned the whole thing. And my living situation was just different. I lived, when I played Supernova Elite, I lived in Brighton, where it was okay, but I did not really, I never really arrived in that city, right? I was injured the day I moved there, couldn't do any sports, and this is always the first connections I make. So I had my 2 flatmates, Rainer Kempe and Ben CB, and they were like partly traveling, partly there. Rainer mainly traveling, and we had like a German crew there, sometimes doing sports, but it was just like so different to my normal life, and something I did not really enjoy. Like I hated the weather there. Obviously, we were lacking summer totally, and so it was like for me at like one point pretty early in time, I decided I'm here for working. So it's pretty much a different attitude to the whole show already. It's not like I'm trying to live like a fulfilling life here and want to have a good time, plus doing that job of grinding, which is Supernova Elite is nothing else but a job. But it was like, okay, here I'm just grinding the shit out of it, and then I take 2 weeks off again to really enjoy time, where I like to be and like fly home or something. And yeah, it's I stick to a schedule. I always had those morning sessions where I was working on like theory topics, and I was grinding the night. So what helped me a lot was when like for example, Ben CB had a clear grinding routine as well. When he was playing in the night, he was playing like tournaments or sit and goes, and had like his clear sessions, which kind of gave me motivation as well to not like hang around and watch Netflix or anything. It's like same right now. If like Tobi shows up here for the afternoon, it's like there's no way like of a downswing, yes, but of being super pissed, because it's like that motivation that just like is in the room somehow, right? It's like we are here for grinding now, that's the plan. And why should I change anything now just because I lose a couple of pots or I'm down? Like maybe I start reviewing a little more, but yeah, I definitely had that routine there, grinding the afternoon and nights. And well, I really planned the whole thing. How many hands do I need? I set that VPP counter in the Star software, and I usually try to double the daily amount because I wanted to play more in winter than in summer, because there I want to take more off, etc. And it helped always that January and February were good month, because what I mean with good months is not like the results, but like what was running. And I think I still got like kind of low variance, lots of hands in. One of the years, Zoom 500 and Zoom 1K was almost running 24/7 in the winter month. And I don't know, I don't have that skill as I had it anymore. Like still a little, but 8 tabling Zoom was not a big deal for me. So it's like infinite hands. And I just really, as I said, I tried to double the VPP counter, and that motivation of getting a day off for every day I really grind was pretty strong. And that where I live, that was okay for me to not leave the flat and like live poker for 14 hours straight. 2 hours of like eating, taking breaks, and 8 hours of sleeping, that was totally fine. So yeah, I think I told you how much I was over it in the end, but it's draining. But I never had that problem in the middle of it that I cannot make supernova elite. That was never an option, or like really that supernova elite forced me to do something I didn't want to.
Right. No, it wasn't the case for me either. It's just at one point it was like I was behind the schedule on the points, and I knew I can't afford to take a day off, because otherwise, there's not enough time unless I go like completely crazy and grind like 20 hours a day, which I don't want to do, and I can't do it. And then
I think that helped a lot. That like really January, February always put me insanely ahead of the curve,
right.
Or of the pace. And then I took summer off to fall behind, but I knew like November, December will be like January, February, and like this is totally fine. In November, if I'm not flying to the Bahamas, I mean, the weather I hate the most is 10 degrees and rain, or 5 degrees and rain. I like snow, I like the heat, I like anything, but not that in between and rain. And like, guess what? We had 11 out of 12 months in Brighton. So that made it easy. Like the choice of where I live made it very easy.
Nice. And actually, one thing that you've mentioned, which I want to talk about, you said like before it was easy for you to grind 8 tables of Zoom, right? And it's not anymore. Exactly the same thing for me. I used to grind 8 tables of Zoom. I used to grind like 18 tables of normal game non-Zoom, and it was easy. It wasn't even, it wasn't draining. It just was a normal thing. Now I feel like it's like obviously I can't do it. What do you think is that? Because like so many people that I talked with who used to grind mass tables as well are also in the same situation now. That most people, apart from some special cases, can't do it anymore.
I mean, it's like the first obvious thing is that the time bank of PokerStars got decreased. But so like the standard one, you have like 2 seconds less or so for like the standard click, which adds up. So this is really tough. The other one is just not having the routine of like, this was obviously the result of playing 4 years straight mass tabling, where you get pretty much better and better at it. So it's like, I think like subconsciously you are faster with your, eye movement to stats. You are faster with like realizing avatars and names, and like, because it's like the same people over and over again. Right now, for me, like even if I just take 3 days break, the next session takes me so much focus. If I'm playing for a week straight, on day number 5, it's totally fine to sit down and I know everyone and it just feels natural. And I guess this is something that builds up. For me, it was like 3-year break more or less from online cash, where I just played every now and then, or like from the mass grind, that it just like, it's tough to get back into the state that I've been into. I think right now it's not just, obviously it would be easy to just say, oh, we are older and 29, like you're not, obviously esports, for example, we are too old for now. Like Counter-Strike, you can't play it with 29 for like certain reasons, because people's reactions just drop down already at, I still consider myself kind of young, so I don't want to go with the I'm old now thing, but I think this is obviously parts of it as well. And it won't be better with 35 or how old are you, Toby, right now?
I am 31.
31.
But what about Runchuks?
Runchuks, how old are you?
Let me think. That's how old I am. I need to think. I'm actually counting the years. 35.
So for you, it's definitely the age thing.
It's definitely the age thing, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the age and the math, because I actually had to count. 35, yeah. But, and it's a great point that you made about, it's the thing about, this routine that, like, if you do it for a week, you're just much quicker. It's part of you. And I remember telling, like, because I remember some people were asking, some friends of mine were asking, like, hey, do you have any advice? Like, how could I play 6 tables of Zoom? You play 8 tables of Zoom. That seems like very comfortable. How can I play 6 tables of Zoom? And my advice was always, well, play 8 tables of Zoom for 3 days. And it's going to be super easy to play 6 tables of Zoom.
It's so relaxed. Do you know that feeling when you start to get bored? Like, oh, what's up on Skype? What's on YouTube? Like, because you are your normal, I don't know, like engagement with 8 tables. It's like
yeah, I know that.
It's like obviously the strong part would to think more deeply about the situations, but the more natural one, at least for me, is to open up more stuff non-poker related. And I'm one of those guys who, like, I play 4 tables of Zoom, 6 other normal tables, and chat at the same time with like 3 people. And like, oh wait, you're in a session right now? Like, I don't want to. It's fine, right? It's like, obviously it would be better if not, but that's just, it's it's another Wunschkonzert here.
It's funny because, same with me here. Last time I checked my database, like my worst results are when I only play 1 or 2 tables.
Same.
There's like a sweet spot. Too much is also not good for obvious reasons, but if I play 6 or 7, that works for me.
I think for example, when I play 6, or like I usually have like some Zoom running as like a baseline, and I want to select the normal tables well. And at some point, it takes all my energy to just play. And then the table selection is lacking, where like obviously huge parts from the win rate comes from. That like the sweet spot is pretty much there where I can use like where I'm busy, but I still have that little space in my brain to look for like better tables to just evaluate how good are the tables. That like this is something. Another like advice maybe, if you are playing cash, you should always know how good your tables are at the moment. If you are not knowing that, you are too busy or not like doing things right. And this is like the big mistake I'm doing often. Just like I get into that keep playing mood, whoever is there. But when you're playing, not to battle racks, but to make money, just like you should always know how good a table is. So yeah.
Oh, that's great advice. The way I see it is usually like I try to ask myself a question: if the seat was open, would I take it right now?
Yeah.
Right.
That's a good thing. Like 99% for what I play, it's a clear no.
Yeah. I mean, I'm obviously also guilty of the same thing. Very often I find myself just, because sometimes I feel like I feel like I don't have as much time for poker as I would like to because of all the other things that I do, and I love to do all the other things that I do. So when I'm playing, I feel like, whatever, I'm just going to be playing because that's my time, and then very often it's maybe not the best game selection, and I'm like, yeah, whatever, it's my time, I'm going to play.
Yeah, I mean, totally agree.
Lucky Skill is saying that even with the weather, you prefer to polarize rather than merge. I guess coming back to your Brighton weather story, if you prefer, either snow or sunny, not like in between with the rain.
Yeah, I mean, I just told a buddy of mine last week, I'm going for like a little ski weekend tomorrow. It's like for me, like winter can be over by then, and I'm ready for those 20-25 degrees plus again. Like snow is fine, but like this in between is really the worst.
Right. Do you plan to go to Vegas actually this year at all, or not really?
No.
Nice.
It's a clear no. but well, for a reason. So I took part in that Euro tickets lottery. So it's like when you want to get tickets for the Euros, it's like always less tickets than people that want tickets, so they kind of make a lottery. Not in the sense that you're winning something, but you win the right to buy tickets. So I never participated in any of those big events, but I like it so much. So I remember everything pretty much from every World Cup, from all the Euros. And so I finally wanted, I think I watched like Pat's Instagram stories from 2018 where he was traveling Russia. And I was like, this is exactly what I love, right? So I wanted to finally, 2020 Euro takes place in whole Europe. And I just signed up for all kinds of tickets where I wanted to go. And then it's like, I think, well, another fun part of the story, Koray Aldemir did the same thing. He signed up for like 33 different matches in like all the cities but Baku, Azerbaijan, it's like a really bad connection there, and he got 0 tickets. So it's like this is how likely it is to get some, and I signed up for 9. Yeah, for 9 matches, and I got tickets for 4. So got the upswing there, and now I have tickets for a like group stage match in Munich, which is Germany versus Portugal. But my stupid cousin decided to marry exactly on that day. So I got to skip that and give it to my friends. And but then I have like a round of 16 in Amsterdam, and I got tickets for both the semifinals in London. So this is where I will be. No Vegas for me. Overlaps.
Nice. That sounds good.
I gotta say, I'm a little jealous. That's amazing.
I mean, if you're skipping Vegas, I have 2 tickets for the semifinals and didn't check out who to take with me so far.
Oh, so nice! And also, London is my hometown.
If you're a nice guy, you have a good shot.
Oh, nice.
Is there anything you need right now?
I'm fine, thank you.
How about tomorrow? I guess Tobi's gonna be now every day with food delivery. Hey, Stefan, what's your favorite coffee from Starbucks? Starbucks is right on the way. Awesome. And speaking of all these events, in the light of the coronavirus, wow, there's talk that Vegas is going to be canceled this year. That would really, really suck. I mean, it's probably unlikely, but who knows?
I mean, we're experiencing it. Right? I mean, I experience it pretty much every day. Like just reading the sports news that I read every day. Like they were talking about whether the Bundesliga match between Borussia Mönchengladbach and Dortmund gets canceled because right there, close to the stadium in like one area, they had like some cases. But now it's all good. We have Switzerland like shut down all events with more than 1K people. And Frankfurt just advanced in EuroLeague and they play FC Basel. And the the Frankfurt fans were like, well, that's cool, but if there won't be a match happening or without like viewers, that's fucked up. And it's like, all that stuff, like I'm kind of relaxed with that. Like I'm more like, okay, it's like maybe a stronger flu and old people die from it. But I'm like, I don't know. It was like my girlfriend's dad said it on the weekend, like the way just like he's working in a hospital, I guess, yeah. And he just said like, just bring it on, and then it's like this will be something that comes back every year. And like, I mean, you cannot. Obviously, you can try to not get it, but it's like then you got to stop living, and it's like, yeah. I think I'm not dying if I get it, so I'm not too like scared of anything. So.
Right. And plus, all the people who go to Vegas for the whole summer anyway, like the amount of disease in those casinos is just insane. Like I remember one year. Like whatever the year was, like 2016, 2017, there was the Legionnaire's disease in Rio. Like seriously, Legionnaire's disease. Like, what is going on?
I'm staying in the Rio, yeah.
It's so ridiculous. And I mean, all these, the Rio flus and like all the people after a couple of weeks of being in Vegas just always sick. So I suppose a little coronavirus is not going to scare many of them.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean.
We'll see. Remains to be seen.
Deal, but for like a kind of healthy 29-year-old in like a pretty good health system, yeah.
I mean, we'll see. Obviously, safe, like there's.
It's also flu season right now, right? So I mean, it should be over in a couple of months.
Let's see.
We don't know.
I don't even want to. Like, not that I'm like scared of going anywhere now.
Yeah, I don't know
if. Go to Vegas, by the way, Runchuks?
Me, yeah. Maybe. no, yeah. I was like, yeah, and then I'm thinking, kind of, yeah. I'm not really sure. I think so. What about you?
No way.
I mean, you were with me in London, right?
Oh yeah.
All right.
The Euro semi-final.
Right.
Finals, both of them.
Finals.
All right.
A very nice friend invited me.
Oh, well. So, what else? Well, I mean, we've covered so many interesting topics. Like, especially the highlight for me was, the discussion about the crews and, the hard work. Always so fascinated about that, and people out working. Who do you think are the people who are the toughest right now in the online environment that you're playing in?
Well, I just want to say, like, I have no clue, but you like got the right question in the end in your online environment you asked, right? Because I'm just trusting the system, so I think the best people are those that are open seeding the highest stakes, and those are those that I'm not playing. So I don't know how good they are. I just trust the system pretty much. The ones that I don't know, like I don't like just from playing a couple of hands, it's all kind of variance or like whether they give you trouble or not, or okay, for some people you start having like such an idiot opinion, which is like usually more a compliment for them than like really them being bad. Yeah, I mean, I'm more looking at like objective. I like to stay objective there, look up results, or like, I mean, know from others that have more sample and just trust their opinions. And it's just really, I mean, I know people have that opinions like, or create opinions just from playing a little, but I think that does not really make sense. And there are just lots of people where I'm maybe not really sure about what I can exploit, which is pretty much the strongest compliment I can give anyone, right? If I have no clue what to exploit, and then my goal is to just play as optimal solver-wise as possible, that's the best it can get to. If like people are doing something weird, and even if it might be just good and they are exploiting me, I will still like tell like, oh, they are shit. They did something that is not okay, right? Maybe they owned me there in that spot. Like I can, was it that hand today? I have one hand I played today in mind. Toinus, like Dutch guy. Mm-hmm. It's like a like kind of well-known mid-stakes grinder. I think it was him or another one of that crew. He 3-bet me big blind versus cutoff with pocket threes. If you look up the solver, well, that's a 0%er. But now you could argue, okay, against the pool, I'm overfolding because they are not 3-betting enough. So he might exploit that and it's just really good. But I'm not doing that against him because he's just a good player. So it's maybe bad again. Then he went for like a king, queen, 5 board. He c-bets, which is fine there with range. I call whatever flush draw. Turn is a 4. He barrels again, which is, if you look it up in the solver, another clear 0%er. And well, obviously he ends up winning the hand against my ace high that I have to show down. But it's like seeing something like that, and I know he's overall really good, but adding 2 solver 0%ers, that's how I take it, in one hand, that's pretty strong move, and I would say like this is just far out of line, so he sucks, right? If I didn't know the background a little more. So that's more like my take, that I can only tell you who I think is shit, but I won't do that. And I like the biggest compliment is, there are some people where I'm not really sure I've never seen them doing something bad, right? So, and this is like, yeah, it's tough to name people that are good in poker. That's what I feel like.
And I think it's super important what you pointed out, that, so many people are too quick to assume, he's bad. He did it like 2 moves that are clearly bad, so he's bad. Without asking the question like, okay, what was his motivation? What's his thinking here? Maybe he's actually owning me here, right? I love your approach and just trying to figure things out, because too many people are too trigger happy of just saying, this is a bad move, you just suck.
Right now, I don't know, which I should probably know after looking up the hand. It's like, might there be another reason why he does that? Maybe there was the biggest nit recreational in the world on the button that he knows I'm way too wide on the cutoff, and I did not even realize that, for example. Mm-hmm. Or I remember those like, what the fuck, he flats something super ridiculous on the button, and then just after the hand, when mass grinding, you miss those things, you see like, it was a 58-6 whale in the big blind, right? And then it's like, obviously just great what he did, yeah? And I just missed it, and approach the hand the wrong way. So it's always like, I mean, coming back to that, like poker-wise, I'm not that overconfident. I'm great, and all the others are shit. Right? That mindset that helps you, I feel like, getting into like tough lineups and just play, which would have helped me in like my career, for example, to move up quicker. But like for analyzing stuff like that, it's really helpful, I guess.
Mm-hmm. All right. I don't know about you guys, but I want to hear more about your life stories from all the high roller scenes.
It's tough to just ask for stories if you like, you know, like you need to come up with something that I started creating those, not creating, but like remembering those stories.
Let me give you a seed for your thoughts, right? Because to me,
yeah, that's great.
And we already discussed, and I think that was a great question of like, do you remember your first experience, you know, and how was it, etc. Because it's always the most memorable, right? But do you remember the first time when you met somebody who was like a poker celebrity for you?
Yeah, I do. Obviously, first one is Sergei Barbares, who mint 3-bet me, but he was not a poker celebrity. So the very first one, I flew to EPT Berlin just because there was EPT Berlin, and a buddy told me, hey, there are good cash games. And I was like playing NL200 online maybe, and was ready to play like NL1K live or something. And so I just flew there, and I was like looking around in the casino always whether I see one of the stars. I didn't know those people back then, but Fedor was there, for example. I didn't meet him. Julian Thomas got 5th in the EPT main event there, one of my best buddies these days. I didn't know him back then. I was just grinding in the Spielbank am Potsdamer Platz for freaking 5-10 against randoms, and there was the first poker, in my eyes, celebrity was Mark Gork. Do you know him, Toby?
Of course, yeah.
Of course, it's like an old school legend. Right? I think he didn't make it to like the really top in the poker world now, but like there was that. I mean, you won't know him, and it's not a good story for anyone. But I'll come up with the next one. That was like really my first one, where I was like, is it that guy? Is it that guy? Like, it's like 2 tables further, was not on my table, and like really, like I've seen him on like a YouTube clip or something, and so where he played like, did he play like German high rollers? That was was on TV. Yeah, like a show that was on German TV,
and also he always played against the best of the best in some weird mixed games and stuff, and you know his table selection was always questionable, to say the least, but super funny guy.
I never talked to him, I guess. I never talked to him. The second one was Australia. We talked about that already, where Fedor was playing the 50K, 100K, 250K, whatever. And I don't know what the thing was. Like, I was in my hotel room and Fedor texted me. And he was playing, I think, the 250K. Like something I was like, crazy guys. Like that was clearly not my world. And he was like, fuck, he dressed up a little and was like wearing a nice shirt, but it was too cold. So he asked me whether I can bring him a jumper. And I was like, yeah, because his next break is like, or it's not possible in the crown to go back to his room in like the break. Like, yeah, sure, not a big deal. And I brought him a jumper, and then he was like in the back seat of one of the tables, and I couldn't reach him from the rail. So I had to pass one guy, and that was Phil Ivey sitting there. I tried to sitting there in his Phil Ivey way, like that, chilling on his chair. And there's a kind of famous picture, or maybe it's just famous for me because I remember it so well. He had just cash under his chair. It was like 50K in cash lying around there.
I remember that too.
Yeah. And that was like, I had to ask him, like, I don't know what I did. Did I ask him to pass the jumper to Fedor, or to just like move a little that I can cross behind him? And I was like, well, what the fuck? There was this Phil Ivey guy, and it's like, just like, must be like 50K in cash just under his chair. Like, that was like another, good one.
It's funny because when I started to play live, I realized famous poker players are not always good poker players.
Yeah, no.
And you know, when you start, you just think, okay, he's a star. He's been around for years, so he must be good. He must be really good. And it's not always the case.
Now, I remember, like for me, always way more interesting were the meetups with like celebrities, but non-poker. Right? I mean, those high rollers attract sometimes people that are just interesting because they made shitloads of money with other stuff. One I remember, which was so funny, was Gerard Piqué. I hope you know him.
Yeah, sure.
For the female listeners, that's like the Shakira guy. And yeah, he was playing the 25K one day, a single day high roller in Barcelona. I think that year he had a red card in the match before that he had time. I don't know whether that was on purpose or not. But he was seated on my direct left, and I mean, I couldn't help myself. He was chilling there like Ivey a little, and he was watching his phone. And I mean, I'm sitting there on his right, and I mean, I know it's not the nicest thing in the world to do, but how could you not like have a look what he's looking at? And you guys can have a guess what he did look. I think I told that in other podcasts already, but it's like he did the same thing like all the high roller players do. He looked up the picture show on Poker News, and he looked at all the pictures that they took of him, where I was like a celebrity who gets like the camera in his face every single moment. But I looked through those pictures to find a Tinder picture, because it's like the one picture they took with a good camera of you, you know? So it's like, and he's looking, I don't know whether, how or why, or
maybe
it's like.
He did it for the same reason.
Maybe he did it for the same reason. But that was a funny one.
Maybe their relationship isn't going that well.
Maybe. And another one that was just a mind-blowing experience in the Bahamas, where Kevin Hart got signed by PokerStars like that year, and he was going to the Bahamas to like, I don't know, he's super famous, so he's like number 25 or top 25 on Twitter and Instagram followers, and like I think making most money actor in the world in 2017, and like supposed to be a comedian, but like the non-funniest guy in my eyes in the world. So like he's just acting. He is not funny. He's just acting like a very poorly scripted show. Like that's what in German TV brings that on like afternoons, like those really, really poorly scripted bullshit shows. Like this, like, I don't know, not my like 100% not my humor. But he was playing with us in a random tournament. I don't know. And I was on his table, and then in my eyes, one of the biggest legends in the world comes in the room, and he's a friend of Kevin. And he took a seat and like right behind Kevin to like chill a little with him and wait for Kevin to then have dinner together. And this was just in my eyes like a stupid clown playing with me here, but he is apparently the big celebrity, and behind seated is like one of my super legends, but he's kind of the whatever guy here. And that guy was Usain Bolt. And I'm like, oh, wow. Like this was like my world turned around, right? It's like Usain Bolt. They're in the Bahamas. I mean, he's from Jamaica, right? So it's not, but like people were asking freaking Kevin Hart for pictures. And I was like, this was the one moment where I was really starstruck, where I was like, I would have loved to have a picture with him. Like I did running when I was younger, and it's like Usain Bolt is just freaking Usain Bolt, and just really would have meant something to me. But I was too scared or something to ask him.
You should have. You know what you should have done?
Playing with his super good buddy Kevin Hart. Like that was world turned upside down.
You know what you should have done? You should have asked Kevin if he can take a picture of you together with him.
That would have been the baller move.
Yeah.
It was even, I mean, we hung out a lot with Maria Ho at that point of time, obviously when she was together with Reiner. And she knew all those people. Like she still knows Kevin Hart from like before he was famous, I guess. And I don't know whether they even had dinner together with the whole crew there. And it would have been like such an easy spot to not connect, but to at least get that freaking picture. But yeah, like I was mind blown. That was not okay. Shout out to all the Kevin Hart fans. You got a crappy humor.
Oh, wow, that's such a funny story, man. I remember my one of the first celebrity, maybe not one of the first, but anyway, one of the times which was a funny story for me was the first time So anyway, there was a game in Wynn, and I was driving back home from Bellagio, and I thought, well, it was on the way, so I might as well stop in Wynn. I go to Wynn, there's one table in the high roller area. They don't really have a high roller area, but, whatever the high stakes area they have, and there's a seat open. So I take a seat, and there's two recreational players that I know, like one businessman and one soccer player at the table. So I thought, oh, that's a great game. And there's like two seats to my right. There's this pretty tall black guy, right? And everybody, like the floor manager, everybody keeps coming to him like, hey, Russ, do you need anything? Like, how are you doing today? All the waiters, all the dealers who come to the table like, oh, Russ, good to see you. I'm like, who the fuck is this Russ guy? Turns out it was the Russell Westbrook.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously...
Yeah, I've heard that he was there.
Yeah. And I was like, wow, I'm such a noob. I don't watch NBA, and everybody... Because at one point I realized everybody at my table are kind of starstruck. And they're all like, oh, Russ, oh, nice hand, Russ. And I'm just like sitting there like, who the fuck? What's going on here?
That's when I tell the Gerard Piqué story. That's why I said the Shakira thing, because so many people in the US have no clue who that guy is. Obviously.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. It works the same way, right? We come from Europe, we see these guys, and I had another story with apparently one of the biggest stars in NHL, right? And I was basically we were playing every day for like a week, and I was making fun of him. He was a funny guy, so I was like, we're, busting each other's balls basically, and just making funny jokes and silly comments, etc. And just like kind of hanging out away from the table as well. At one point, there was one guy comes over and like, hey, how come you're friends with Phil? I'm like, yeah, I know. I mean, just met him recently. Super nice guy. I like him. He's like, yeah, but he just won the Stanley Cup. Like, what? What do you mean won the Stanley Cup? Yeah, he's like the biggest superstar in the US, in the NHL. I was like, oh, good to know. No idea.
It's like your story shows it as well. It's like best not to know, right? You behave so differently, just like knowing stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think that's why we were hanging out, sort of, because for him it was probably refreshing that there's somebody who actually is just thinks he's a nice guy, and we have a nice conversation, and I have no clue about all the sports of all the, fame, etc. that he has, so... Because did it happen to you, because there must have been a point where people start coming over and like, hey, Steffen, can we take a picture with you? Can you sign this? Did you experience that yourself?
Yeah, just... mainly pictures, like when you walk in a casino, mainly Vegas, right? The time after Poker Masters, I think that was running obviously on Poker Go, but even there was like a highlight show on one of the big sports networks. And then like obviously people know your face, and yeah, some ask for a picture, or like it's usually it's good for me in the tournament. It's just like important to know whether those people know my face or not, right? Because the good old, oh, he's really good, so he will have enough bluffs here, that call, like in the whole WSOP last year, I didn't need, like in the low stakes tournament, I didn't need to pull a single bluff because I get paid off like 100% of the time. So that was like the strategy part behind it. But I don't know, like in the beginning, I had like a small, not a bet, but like we were counting people asking for photos, and I was fighting Rainer Kempe on that after I completely crushed him. So, but like I remember the sickest moment or thing I remember is that when just like walking next to Fedor through the Rio, from like the Rio legendary, what is it, Legion's Tower, like where that was, to like in the Rio poker room. That was just like, I mean, at least 10 people. like every single time. And that's, I mean, for me, it was like always fun because it's like maybe one a day in Vegas. Maybe like if it's the final table of something big and people are like more aware what's happening there, maybe two, but that's it. That's like the one where it's like, oh, nice, I feel a little cool. What I don't like is the Phil story that you had when like what people know about you changes them the way they treat you. For example, when I meet new buddies in Vienna, or let it be in Brighton, we're like, okay, people take like this poker skill level or like the stakes you play or anything like that into the real life, right? When you get the feeling that people want to just be nice to you or want to like, it's like on the football field when you have the feeling that what you say is right because kind of you are like more powerful in their eyes or whatever. When you get that feeling, that's what I really hate. Like we talked about that before. I enjoy it just like with my normal people. They obviously don't give a shit. They know me from like being a kid and not for my poker success or anything. This is like being normal and getting the trash talk started and stuff like that. This is what I enjoy a lot. And this is sometimes when you meet new people that are like, that know you from poker, there is that certain vibe. And I don't know whether you know what I'm talking about, but it's like, yeah, it's just fear.
Not really, because I'm not famous enough. So never had the problem. I mean, in a way, I think it's a good problem to have, that somebody's starstruck, when he sees you. But
it's like, it's a door opener as well. I mean, there are lots of positive sides. It's not just like the one where I feel like I would enjoy it more when it was like when everyone is on the same level, just like when you feel it.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, but it also means that you achieved something,
Yeah.
People recognize you and, think that you're a role model in the poker world.
Well, sure. 100%. Like, let's have more pizza and beer.
Right. And wine probably as well. I heard you, because I watched some of your podcast with Joey Ingram.
Yeah.
You had a story of how... the story started so beautifully, like, I was grinding like till 7 a.m, blah, blah, blah. And then you kind of, and I drank a bottle of wine while I was doing it. I was like, wait, what? Because, at first I'm like, oh yeah, you're enjoying the grind, the good old days, how you're like super committed to like grind it out the whole day, like 16 hours. Okay, the guy was just drunk. That was so funny.
A bottle of wine doesn't have anything to do with being drunk, right?
True. Yeah. Oh, well.
Like over time. So, no, it's like, I don't know. It's like, for me, it's about feeling good. Obviously, I don't want to be drunk when I'm playing, but like if I take the afternoon off and my girlfriend goes to bed pretty early because she has to get up so early, and then, I still want to have a glass of wine when we have a nice dinner or anything, and still, I think it's possible to still be in the grind afterwards, and I don't have to be on like the most strict diet, etc. For me, it's more important to feel well overall, and then it's gonna be fine.
Mm-hmm.
I know there are other approaches to that, and they see themselves or like poker players as like kind of athletes. And there's obviously some potential to optimize things, but it's like not my part.
Yeah.
Do you have something like a favorite Degen story?
It's like everyone asks that. I don't have a Degen story. Not really. Like never.
Not a single one, really.
Like
after all those years in poker.
Yeah, I mean the most Degen story is where it's not about me, like where one of our German friends got like kind of addicted to blackjack in Vegas, and he like started losing so much, but he couldn't help himself. So we made the thing that we didn't allow him to go in the casinos anymore, but like the only way to not do that is we had to play blackjack against him. And so it was like we were the bank. And I was like, I had to deal blackjack 8 hours straight just to him. And we were just like counting, writing stuff down. And but I was the bank.
Oh, wow.
Unfortunately, he was winning in that session, but good for him. It's like, and we even like made other rules that like the edge of the house is just like very, very, very low. It's like, I don't know what it is, like 2.5% or up to 4%, depends on like how GTO you play. And we made it to like a rule change to like 0.5%, that it's pretty basically flipping for an addicted buddy, but like the good flipping, not giving it all to the casino. Like, I don't know.
Wow.
And like we decided how high he's allowed to play. So it's like we kept it kind of lowish. Not like we didn't allow him to Degen it off like last hand, all in, whatever, which would have happened always in the casino.
And what about free drinks?
Yeah, well, it was in Stefan's and Reiner's flat. So yeah, free drinks were on them, I guess. No reward card though.
Oh wow.
Yeah. But I was like always, sometimes I was playing like with the others just to have the last two drinks, a little blackjack, but it's not like just because I could afford it, it doesn't give me anything. I know exactly how the game works. It's like one Wikipedia article you need to read to play perfectly. And it's just like, oh, I make a minus EV bet. I look how it ends up. Like that, something like that does not give me anything. And it's like, I'm one of those idiots who just sit there and play the minimum bet to participate and get the drinks. It's like, for me, there's no thrill about the money side of it because it's not luck. It's just like, I know how it works. It's like, yeah, it's I don't know, like it's not different whether I put $5 there or 100 for me. So like, it's just losing more.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way, especially slots. It's just, pushing.
I never played slots a single time.
You don't have to think about anything. It's just.
I remember one night, maybe. I mean, that's not a real Degen story, but this was like a fun night for sure. It was one guy from my hometown. He's working for like the car industry, and they had like test drives in the desert next to Vegas or around Vegas. And he asked me whether I'm around. That was like 10th of July or something. So for sure I have been in Vegas. It was him and 3 colleagues. They wanted to visit me in Vegas, and like they asked me to give them like a casino night out, to like tell them where to go, and I'm like, obviously I have no clue. So we ended up in like a random casino. I think we have even been in the one where they have like what's it called? Like lots of girls dancing around there. I don't know which one it was, and they wanted to try all the table games. So I told them roulette is boring. I think we played that for 5 minutes just to have a look. And then one guy obviously got addicted to craps, but I don't like that. I never won there. Even like Reiner wanted always to go there. And like it's like, I don't know, we always put 100 down there, which was like, why so much? I had that feeling already, and it was always gone. And I hate that game. It's stupid. I never was one of those heaters. Why, like, which must be the reason for people loving it. I was always into Blackjack, so because like 21 was my favorite movie back then, and so I took them to Blackjack, and like okay, for them we play a little, like I had like 200 on the table or something, and like it was so interesting to like just see their different characters. My friend was like, okay, maybe I try once, but I know I'm losing here, and yeah, I'll watch what you do first, and then I try. Okay, and
so even there was like a maniac, there was the nit, there was like
right, there was the super nit who was like, oh great, you guys play and I can drink. I mean, he was even counting the beers and like writing down the money he saved, right? So it's like that, and he like, I mean, for me playing, he got, I mean, when you buy a beer in the casino, it's like $11 or so. So he made, I don't know, $88 or so that night by drinking 8 beers because I was playing, and he loved it. And then there was the maniac who was like, wait, are you guys staying here? I gotta try that other table game there that I've seen. I got to try all of them. And then he got stuck there for like an hour, and then he came back. And then, well, I caught a heater, obviously on Blackjack. That was important for the whole night. And I I think I lost 200. Then I reloaded 300 because you gotta chase obviously, and then I got up to like 1.5K or so, and then I don't know, we were having a gazillion beers already, and I needed to pee so badly, and I was like, yeah, you can take my seat, you play, and like his eyes, like he had like 1.5K in front of him, and he was allowed to play. And like I told him, okay, until I'm back, just go with the like. I gave him a cap to not like everything on one bet or something like that now. And but he was like enjoying it. So the maniac in him just was insane to watch. And then I came back, and he didn't want to get up. Like he wanted like it was like there was clear no, like no way I could play there. He was in the zone. It was things were going well. And then I think he was joking around with like all the stacks of chips we were having, and like with like the 25s, one stack of 25. So he's like faking out 500, whether he can bet 500 at once. He has like a good feeling, and like I gave him the yes, obviously. I mean, it was about a fun night out. It was like, okay, I mean, we can do the math. What does that $500 bet cost us right there, right now? I mean, it's like it's okay. It's not, but it was lots of fun. And well, then we obviously binged that one, and he was just going more and more crazy. And we left with a big win, and it was like the perfect Vegas night out. So
Okay.
not followed up by a strip club, which would have been the perfect Vegas night out for others maybe, but that was fun. Yeah. No real Degen stories from me.
Oh well. Anyway, we actually missed a lot of questions in the chat, but I think, guys, we're not gonna be able to cover everything today, because actually, I just realized we're eating into Arthur's time. Arthur is usually streaming 8 p.m. every day, and sorry, so we're 20 minutes over his time, but you stick around. He's gonna be right after us, I think, and. Yeah, do we even want to start talking about what do you think about the drama between Dominic and Ben CB? Is it a long topic? Do we want to get into it right now?
I hear about that for the first time. I can just guess that there's some raise your edge DTO poker that they have some beef, but I have no information at all. I hear it for the first time.
Got no clue. So, okay, that's sorted. Then we answered the question. What do we think?
Yeah.
We have no clue. What are you talking about? What is the drama? So, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, Steffen, what's actually like for you now? Like a lot has changed in life, right? You've moved back to Germany, a new situation, new plans, less traveling for football, watching the games, semifinals, etc. Super exciting stuff. Like, what's your plan now? What do you see that you're going towards?
Actually, it's just getting those routines started. Right now, I have that great habit of always being injured when moving to a new place.
All right.
So right now I'm injured as well and can't do any sports. So I want to get over that and then really get that life started that I'm a little dreaming of, right? Like still improve at a cash game to be there in a certain state that I maybe had like 215 again to pretty much choose what I play and make my solid income on like pretty much 24/7 anytime I want or feel like playing. And it's still like some hard work I need to put in. And then the surroundings, it's like right now, I only know the friends of my girlfriend in that city here, but my hometown and Toby, obviously, and Toby's parents, and Toby's wife, and soon Toby's, I don't know where there is.
What?
No? And soon other Toby's friends, because I go to a soccer club. And like I want to get that kind, I need to get a rhythm in. Like my friends are like 1 hour away, which is like okay to go there, but you don't want to go there for like a random training in the afternoon, right? So I want to get some system in there to just lead kind of normal life where I'm just like happy with how everything is going. That's pretty much my main task right now. So it's still, if I would need to write down goals, it's like get to get better at cash game, to get to a certain level I'm happy with, to then like go on a regular grind. Right now I'm really doing lots of stuff, so I want to get there more into that. I'm good enough now to just go for the still working on it, but just a regular grind pretty much. Then I'm in the worst shape of my life for sure, because the 3 last times I played football, I got injured every single time, which is now pretty much almost half a year no sports for me, which is I've always done so much, so this is really destroying my soul a little. So I want to get there in a better shape as well, and then get like a normal life started a little more here.
Right. Your whole journey is just such a beautiful story that people really need to hear, actually, because you've started from without binking any magic. You just started from like NL2 or whatever, and you grinded up. You found a group of people that motivated you, that pushed you towards bigger goals. You achieved visible high success in a high roller community, and just people were asking for a picture of you, for God's sake, when you're walking through Rio, and at the same time you never lost kind of your focus on what's important to you and how to make your life enjoyable, and it's such a great story to hear, because I think a lot of people who see, especially the guys in with the visible success in the high roller thing, they just have a specific idea. Okay, that person is probably his life looks like this, and it's great that people can see your sort of true self, away from all the cameras, away from all the the bling bling of those huge events, because in the end of the day we all just are trying to find how to make our lives more enjoyable for ourselves, and many times it's not about the money anymore. Once you reach a specific amount of money that you're happy with, like this extra bit of money is not that important anymore. Other things take priority. For some people it happens sooner, for some people it maybe never happens, but I think it's so cool for people to see, because even if we think about it, like from your group, everybody seems to start either finding a way to go into business away from poker, away from the scene, and there's probably going to be a new group of people who are going to be shining in all these high roller events, etc. So, to see your story out there, it might be quite inspiring for a lot of people who actually want to achieve success in poker. So thanks so much for doing this, man. I really liked our conversation today.
Thank you. Though, I'm almost turning red. Like, that was a nice story the way you told it. I like it a lot.
But it is your story. I mean,
it
is your story.
Just you put it in nice words. So
because also like the fact of staying humble and not having your ego kind of dictate what you think, because like all of the stories that you told about, you want to play the mid stakes to prove to yourself that you're still good. You're always question, like even the story about the guy made 2 0% moves with the solver. You consider that, hey, maybe he's doing something right, I need to check it out, like what is going on here. I think as an approach to life in general, that's such a great approach, because you stay humble and you stay hardworking, and you know what it takes to achieve success, And there's time and place for people like Fedor, who's gonna just go out and say, hey, everybody sucks, we can beat them. We need these people in our life as well, because without him you might not take a chance on these high rollers, because you wouldn't think like, okay, we should go there, we're gonna beat everybody. So it comes back again to, how important a group of people that surrounds you is for you, for everyone. So and all you guys, by the way, so we're gonna have the recording of this episode on YouTube in about a week and a half. You can check it out on Runchuks Poker. I know Steffen struggled to find it himself when Tobi tried to point him to it, but you can find us there. We're gonna also post all the links to Steffan's stuff, like your Twitter. You're still pretty active on Twitter, are you? Or
I'm reading. I will start something again. So on pretty much on Instagram, but yeah, like I did not share anything like during like when I was moving places and playing less. I was like more active when I was playing the tournaments. I will be a little more active, but with a new Instagram account that is not out there yet. Post a little more there about the journey, since I'm thinking about doing a little coaching stuff as well to start something there. And yeah, but that's not a thing for now. Maybe like in 1 month or so.
okay.
And yeah, I'll let you know.
All right, you let us know. We can update the links in the description. So whenever you guys are watching the recording, then you might see the new stuff out there, the links to it. Otherwise, just follow Stefan on Twitter. It's the Run Goose Run, right? Was it?
Yep.
And yeah.
And make sure just to follow No Limit Gaming. That would be nice.
Absolutely. And
nice
Stefan might be
as well.
Yeah, and Stefan might be streaming again there, so keep an eye on that, because his streams are super entertaining and useful. Not only entertaining, you actually learn something along the way. So, yeah. Anything else? Anything you guys want to add today?
I think that was great.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, Stefan, Toby, guys, thank you so much. Enjoy your beer or whatever you're going to go for now, and it's been such a pleasure.
Yeah.
I definitely want to hear about, the stuff that you're planning, Stefan, with the coaching and everything. So let me know, and I would be really happy to share with other people, so they can find it. Because yeah, super nice that you're sharing your story and your ideas, your experience with the world out there. I think a lot of people need to hear this stuff.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right, guys. Thank you all. As always, we're going to be back next week. Every Wednesday, 6 p.m. CET is our stream. And you can find us if you missed us on YouTube, on the Runchuks Poker channel. And check out Bluff the Spot YouTube channel as well for highlights of some of our shows and a lot of other stuff from people like MMA Sherdog and others. All right. Good night.
See you guys.
Good night.